Good evening. As a preliminary matter, this is Jutoshen Joko, Chair of the Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. And I think you might have to unmute yourself, answer, and then mute after. Charles Desmond.
Here.
Bob Gamer. Bill Graham.
Here.
Donna Hopkins.
Yes, I can hear.
David McKenna. Jorge Sanchez Salazar.
Present.
Paul Pollack. I can see Paul.
Here.
Thank you. Pastor Douglas Voice.
Here.
David Mills.
Here.
Eric Crane.
Here.
Lieutenant Rob Sullivan. Eileen Page.
Here.
And Anna Marie Silva. I think that was going to be our guest for the day. She may not have joined yet.
Lisa is here. We don't include her as part of the roll call because she's not part of the quorum.
Oh, okay.
I
Thank
do
you.
see her here.
Okay. This open meeting of the Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which can be found posted with agenda material for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee is convening remotely via the WebEx app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees may participate by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the second item on the agenda. But before we do so, permit me to convey some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until I yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through myself, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And before I actually go on to the second item on the agenda, let me take a minute to express. I stopped by the funeral home this afternoon to pay my final respect to Chief Ambrose. Let me take a minute to express my sincere and heartfelt condolences to the family of the chief. He was such a good man. I had a chance to know him for the past few years quite a bit. We always chat when we will attend the Danvers Cares meeting or when we will be marching at the Light the Night Purple. We both sit on the Recovery Center for America Advisory Board. And he cares so much about the work of this committee. Uh, as a matter of fact, I think we are one of the only committee that have their regular meeting, one of the only town committee that will meet inside the police station for their monthly meeting. So
crazy.
he will be missed, and I will please urge us to just take a moment of silence in the memory of Chief Ambrose. Thank you very much, and may his soul rest in peace. Thank you. I will now move on the second item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from December 17, 2020 and December 30th, 2020. The minutes were included with the agenda. I will need a motion to approve the minutes.
D.
Yes,
I will approve, make a motion to approve December 17th minutes.
I'll second that.
thank you. So procedurally, Eileen, do we have to approve each set of minutes? Can we approve both at the same time, or we have to do one at a time?
We can do both at the same time. We can move to approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, Paul.
I'll
do you
rephrase it.
wanna-
I will rephrase it and approve both the minutes of December 17th, 2020 and December, what is it, December 30th of 2020.
I still second that.
Perfect, thank you. So I will proceed with a roll call vote to approve the minutes of December 17, 2020 and December 30th, 2020. Charles Desmond,
Yes.
Bob Gamer,
bringing creation and the purpose of creation back
Bob Gamer,
that what God initially had wanted would now come true. But
Yes.
painstaking
okay, thank you. Bill Graham. Can Bill hear me?
I'm showing Bill buffering, I think. Oh, he's back.
Okay.
He's saying yes.
Okay, thank you. Donna Hopkins.
I approve.
David McKenna.
Aye.
With some success.
Jorge Sanchez Salazar.
I approve.
Paul Paula.
I approve.
And I approve. So the minutes of December 17, 2020 and December 30th, 2020 are approved as presented. We will now move to the third item on the agenda. We don't have a guest speaker today. And if you recall, during one of our previous meetings, and we've been talking about this for a while now, we intended to convene community conversations to inform ourselves and the community about difficult topics. And that means understanding history and confronting our own thinking. And we also always said that we would love to have a greater participation of people in our community. We were seeking greater participation of our Danvers residents. Because I firmly believe, and I've said it before, by being involved, you are not only helping others, but you're strengthening your connections to the community and gaining new skills and enriching your personal and professional growth as well, in life for that matter. So today we have with us Lisa Marie Silva. I did speak to Lisa quite a bit with some ideas that she had on these community conversations and how we can work with residents and bring people together and educate ourselves, inform ourselves, and like I said, challenge our own thinking. So Lisa Marie is a Denver resident. I think she grew up here, left for a little bit, and now she's back in town. So we talk a lot about some ideas of things that we can do. I'll let Lisa Marie take it away.
Hi. I've met some of you before in a prior meeting when we talked about some unity signs. So hello again. My name is Lisa, and I am a parent that lives in Danvers. I did grow up here and moved away for 10 or 15 years, and I've been back for about 5 years. And I run a Facebook group of mostly Danvers residents, but some other North Shore people, all around the topic of racism and diversity and inclusion. And the name of the group is called Know Me, Know You, Know Us. And it was created by a woman who lived here back before COVID, when we used to get together and sort of explore each other's cultures. And it's really pretty much only on Facebook right now, since we can't really get together. But once in a while we do get together via Zoom or something like this and talk about some things. And we recently did, because I was invited to a conversation in Swampscott. Some women that I know through some activism that I've met over the last year or so invited me to a discussion for the town of Swampscott, and it was called Unpacking Racism. And the town of Swampscott actually has hired a woman to be what they call a critical partner in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and she's who ran this particular discussion. So her goal, just her role in general, is just to make Swampscott a very welcoming space for everybody and a very inclusive space. And for this particular project, they used Swampscott TV and the town Facebook page to put it out there. And they had people pre-register, you know, and they had some rules and group norms and things like that that you had to sign on to. They actually sent out an article which talks about racism like groundwater. So how it pops up in all different areas. And she started out the conversation with a couple of slides. One was talking about intent over impact or versus impact. Another one was about calling people in or out. So when you call people out, you know, people tend to get defensive. When you call them into a conversation, it's much more productive. And then her last slide was about how to become anti-racist and talked about the different zones that you could be in, the fear zone, the learning zone, the growth zone, and then talked about how the community could help some people move along into different zones. And then they did a little poll, you know, where are you in this little chart here? And, you know, it was anonymous, so nobody had to say, you know, oh, we're going to call this person out. But it really started some good conversation, and there was about 50 attendees, and it lasted over 3 hours. And that was basically about 30 minutes of slides, just those 3 slides. It did become conversational very quickly, which I really liked about it. It was very well run, professionally run. And the way that it was structured was to get the community talking to each other. And there was everybody from someone who just graduated high school or maybe even a high school senior to, you know, the elderly in the community on that Zoom, which I thought was really great as well. So I thought this would be something great to do in Danvers. I know that David Mills and I have talked about this, and Donna, and it sounds like you guys have talked about it a little bit as well. And I have some people in my Facebook group that would be willing to help out and put this together. And we had talked about maybe having somebody from the community of Danvers even partner. We could maybe approach this woman. She actually does this for a living, but she is a Swampscott resident, so they kind of lucked out. You know, to help us out and maybe help us present or share some materials or things like that. And you know, if this one is successful, you know, this could be more of an intro, or we could obviously tailor it to our community. We're different communities. But, you know, in the future, we had talked about things like, you know, getting people book recommendations and maybe even book clubs in the future. That's something that a lot of people are doing on Zoom these days as well. I've attended a couple myself on books about racial justice, and they've been really, really good. So just another way to get the community talking and sort of take a proactive approach, you know, as we move into a new administration and some changing things as we go along, you know. Always good to kind of get everybody in the name of unity talking about some things that Danvers really isn't immune to. So that's about it.
Thank you very much, Lisa Marie. I mean, I actually did that talk from Swampscott. I did listen to it. I did not finish yet. I did not have 3 hours.
I know it's amazing how
to be
long
able to
they went
listen
on.
to the whole thing. I went through the first hour, and it was really impressive. It was, I mean, people were opening up, and you had people from the fear zone to the learning zone and to the knowledgeable people, and they were all together with a single thing in mind, which was how do we make it better for all of us? What kind of community do we want to have? And it was really impressive. I'm going to go down the list of members in case they have any comments, questions. and Charles Desmond. If you could please unmute yourself and before you speak.
I'm sorry, no questions.
Okay. Bob Gamer.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, on January 6th, we had the most dangerous, significant event, one of the darkest days in the history of this country. These people, some of whom were wearing T-shirts like 6 million more, Camp Auschwitz, one waving a Confederate banner, nearly took our democracy away. We came a hair away from our government officials being assassinated. Lisa, I very much applaud your efforts. We need to attack this on a grassroots efforts. We need to do everything. And I applaud what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Graham.
Everything we can do to combat racism is needed.
Thank you. Donna Hopkins.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Donna.
It's a great idea. And I think it would be really nice if we did it in Danvers. What is it you want from our group? What can we do to help you? How do you see this happening? I know you put something out in the group. Know me, know you, know us. Did anyone come forward willing to?
So I haven't found anybody who would be willing to help be a speaker. I was thinking about reaching out to Tammy Faye in Swampscott and seeing if she could do that for us just as a one-off, in her free time as sort of a little side project. Because I did reach out to her as soon as I watched. I watched it sort of backwards because I joined in at first right after the first hour. So I didn't see the slides. I just came into the conversation. And then I sent her an email asking her, just who she was and, how this project came about. Perhaps maybe if she's not interested, maybe some help finding someone. I would like to have this be led by, some people of color as well, have them have some input. And I am going to reach out to Rochelle. But any help in that kind of input as well. And we would love to be able to broadcast it. I guess that's something that, we would maybe seek from the town if that would be possible.
What do you see us helping you with, or do you see us co-sponsoring it with you, or?
I would love you guys to co-sponsor it.
Okay.
I think, the more channels that we have to promote it, the better. I would love to even work with the two groups that are in the high school and see if, the high school students want to be involved in this conversation because I know that they have things that they probably want to say.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would be nice to have a forum where they could do that, and it's
right.
All right. So I don't want to take up anybody else's time, but I guess I just wanted to know. I appreciate you coming and making the presentation today. I think it's a great idea. I'm wondering if we'll get the turnout that Swampscott had. I think the fact that it lasted 3 hours is amazing. But it's a good start. So
exactly. And, what I'm hoping is that it's successful. If it's as successful as the one in Swampscott, meaning the content of it, and people really feel like they got something out of it, which I feel like everybody who listened to this, I learned so much on that call to be honest, and I didn't even really participate. I was just listening in, just as the, you know, oh, I'm going to check this out and see what other towns are doing, kind of thing. And I learned so much, and I thought the conversation between people was just so understanding, and people were learning things from each other. So if that can happen, and then we could, you know, maybe we could do a second one and have a better turnout, you know, people who, well, I really went to the last one, it was great, you know, kind of thing. So, I mean, just some positive talk would be wonderful.
Perfect. Thank you. David McKenna?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the program. It sounds very interesting. And obviously we started this committee, 25 years ago to fight racism. And I think anything we can do that might help that goal is worth checking into.
Thank you. Paul Polak? I think Paul is muted.
I just sent him a request to unmute. Get it?
Okay, getting some technical difficulties with Paul there.
There we go.
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sorry. These things seem to happen to me quite a bit at meetings. Thank you, Lisa, for the presentation. It appears that you're trying to develop the group and expand it. Is that correct, to some extent?
Sorry, now I'm having the mute problem. You know, I mean, the group is sort of the purpose of the group is sort of to do these types of things. So, I mean, yeah, if we get more members of our group, that's great. You know what I mean? Because we do have some tough conversations in that group, which I think, you know, people have been great and easy on each other and helped each other through it. And, you know, talking about racism is not easy. Sometimes people get very passionate and fired up about it, and, you know, all kinds of things happen. But yeah, I think that is the goal, is to get more people, whether they join my group. There's also another group, Danvers Racial Justice, on Facebook as well. And, you know, just to get people talking about these types of things so that, you know, when these issues come up in our town, which they are, and they will continue to come up, that we can have a conversation about it.
You know, I think it was mentioned maybe perhaps that you could get some group discussion going on DCAT, and I would highly recommend that. I think Donna might have mentioned that. That would be a good outlet for you if you could partner with them. I don't have any problems with the group myself personally, our group, helping you in some extent, even as a co-sponsor. But I think as a group, we probably have to discuss it more thoroughly.
Right.
Maybe this type of forum isn't the best way to do it, but I think it's something, Mr. Chairman, that we might want to put in the minutes for a future meeting. And maybe that type of meeting would come once we get to real life sort of entertainment again in person. But I'm all in favor of that. And the other question I had, you just sort of touched on it a little bit, is when you went to the Swampscott meeting, and you just mentioned some of your meeting discussions. Now, are your discussions in person, or are they on Zoom or this WebEx thing?
We have, so for my group, you mean?
Yes.
We've yeah, it's a Facebook group, but we've done a couple of Zoom meetings, and prior to COVID, yes, that we did meet in person.
We did meet in person, yeah.
Yeah, prior to COVID, yeah.
was the Swampscott meeting sort of an open meeting in person, or was that could?
No, it was Zoom. It was via Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering when you had that meeting, just from a curiosity standpoint, was it more of the folks sort of preaching to the choir, or was there other folks that took an opposite view on an approach to racism? Was it a spirited, respectful conversation, or did it get
It
to be?
was a respectful conversation. I would say most everybody that was there was at least interested in working towards,
Anti-racist.
either learning about racism. There was no one there to say like, oh, this is not true. Where, to debate racism. You know what I mean? So there was definitely a general level of acceptance of, racism exists and things like that. But yeah, there was definitely some varying views, and some people, just explaining their point of view. And there was a time limit of like 3 minutes per person that you could talk without, asking for feedback, or, just, don't talk for like 10 minutes.
Right.
And I do feel like, a lot of people heard, especially I feel like older people heard from younger people. And, the comments that were back were sort of like, oh, I never really thought of it that way, or, things like that. So I do think that there was definitely some learning going on. And I've been pretty involved in anti-racism for a few years now, and I definitely learned things from the conversation. So it was, I think, for all levels.
Did you touch on other areas of bigotry? For instance, religious bigotry, gay rights, things like that, or not?
So this particular conversation with the slides was all about racism. However, when you get into the conversation later on, when people start to talk to each other, they did more get into what do we want our community to look like, and who isn't sitting at the table. So they did definitely get into other forms of, everybody needs to be represented. And if there aren't a certain group of people here, why aren't they here? Why don't they feel comfortable in our town? And how can we make our town more welcoming? And they did start to talk about even some goals and some things that they could do towards the end, to achieve those things. So it was a really great conversation.
Thank you. Now, I just want to conclude my comments in saying that I appreciate you spending some time with us, and I hope that our committee can maintain a dialogue with you and your folks. I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And just so everyone know, I think the link of that conversation is actually online. So I'll I'll forward it to Eileen, and she's gonna forward it to all the committee members, so you can listen to it for yourself. Paul Hayes Sanchez Salazar, any question or comments?
I think it's a great idea. That's my only comment.
Thank you. And I think before I go to our liaison, Bob, you had another question?
Oh, I think he's muted.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the George Forster vigil that we had, I think the estimate was 500, which was organized in a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And that certainly represented the diversity of the Danvers population. So, I mean, the numbers show that the interest is there, and basically is really, this kind of thing is the next step, which next grassroots step. So I thought I'd throw that in there.
Okay, thank you. So we'll quickly hear from our liaison if they have any question or comment. David Mills.
Thank you, Dee. Hi, everyone. Lisa, good to see you. Don't see enough of you. I'm the selectman liaison, and I want to be confident in reporting to the selectmen what's going on with this committee, because they care to know, they want to know. And so I'm going to say, you know, we had our monthly meeting last week, and we heard from a citizen in the town who is active in coordinating online discussions among interested people on the issue of racism, especially racism in our community. And I'm wondering, Lisa, and I think that you were asked this by Donna, is there a specific request that you have to, it doesn't have to be, but do you have a specific request to the committee as part of your being here with us tonight? In addition to telling us what you've been doing.
Yeah, so I would love if you guys would co-sponsor it. I would love if the town would allow us to broadcast via any channel that they have, whether it's you know, the Facebook page, the website, you know, similar to what they did in Swampscott. I thought that that was really gave it some weight and some credit, that it was being, you know, run basically by the town, you know, and it was being promoted by the town, as opposed to just, you know, oh, here's my, because you know, I can run something out of my Facebook group, but you know, not everybody in town knows me, and not everybody in town knows my group, and you know, not everybody's on Facebook, and you know, there's all these things. So I guess just to have the broadest reach would be really great. And for yeah, I mean, I would love you guys to be involved and to get your input as well, because you know, like somebody said, you know, this group has existed for 25 years, so you know, this is the goal, right? Is to eradicate racism and to start having these conversations.
So what I hear you doing is you're asking for a commitment for the town to cooperate and participate, probably through this committee, with efforts to further the public engagement and discussion on issues of racism in our lives and in our communities.
Yes.
And may I just to throw in my own 2 cents? I don't know if you can see this. I want to tell you a little story. Can anybody see that?
I can see it, but I feel like the top is cut off. When you pushed it up, is it on a tablet? I feel,
yeah.
Did it come? Oh, there we go. Yes, I can see it. Yes.
The 2 little girls, and their shirts say, "My VP looks like me." These are 2 that actually, I don't know whether they're African American, they're dark-skinned little girls. They are the grandchildren of an Irish Catholic woman colleague that I work with in state government. And when I initially met her, I'm just talking about the importance of conversation, telling our stories, and being together. Well, this woman and I didn't get off to a rocky start because I'm fairly polite and I'm not confrontational. But I did not warm up to her until I showed her a picture of my African American granddaughter. She showed me a picture of these 2 grandchildren of hers, so that we had a phenomenal connection that would, I don't know, we tell our stories and disclose who we are, the good and the bad and the indifferent. I don't know if change takes. I asked her permission. I asked my colleagues permission. She sent me this today. She was so delighted, and I have it as my screensaver. And I asked her if I could share it with worthy friends. It's this kind of storytelling and telling our stories that comes from conversation in a safe environment, and safe and respectful. Doesn't have to be the same thing. But, so that's what I'm hearing for the cooperation of the committee, principally through the Human Rights Inclusion. to continue that conversation in whatever form you felt to be effectively reaching the greatest number of people who want to be part of that conversation. That's what I'm hearing. And that's kind of, I'm kind of rehearsing how the hell do I explain efficiently and
you should bring the picture because those girls are pretty cute.
Oh yeah. Boy, to get the text of the shirt, my VP. Let me find this. I got to do this for you again. Yeah.
Perfect.
My VP looks like me. How do you like that? Okay, and that's I wanted to make sure I had an understanding of what I should be reading the select about our discussion with you.
Yeah, I think you got it. You got it down.
Thank you, David. Eric Crane.
Thanks, Steve. I think the dog wants some attention, Lisa, or somebody does.
They're playing with a rope toy right now, so that's why I keep muting myself. I'm sorry. They're
no. I got a cat sitting on my desk who was walking.
Yeah. They were tamer earlier, but
I'm just a liaison, so I obviously don't have a vote. The idea sounds great, and I think David started to go down the road that I think that alternately you and this committee need to go down to is precisely what are you looking for and for whom. The idea of having a community conversation makes sense, and I have a feeling that what you were really looking for is initially for this group to say, yeah, that's a great idea, we'll run with it, and you can be part of it, Lisa. And if that's what you're looking for, I think, lay that right out. I think what you need to work on at this point, whether it's members of this committee or others, is, okay, what could this really look like? What are the logistics of it? So, for example, it seems to me you would need the woman who facilitated this in Swampscott obviously is very good at what she does.
Yeah.
And to facilitate a large Zoom meeting and keep the conversation going, and with people perhaps getting emotional or fired up, to be able to manage that whole process, so you need a really good facilitator. DCAP is always looking for content. I don't want to speak for Ben, but I would imagine DCAP would love to televise something like this, assuming it's a public forum. So that wouldn't be an issue. But thinking to lay out the logistics, and like I say, whether it's you making a point to sit down with this committee, whether D appoints a subcommittee to give this life, whether Dave, or someone from the select join, from school committee, whatever it is, I think you need to lay out, in the four corners of what the logistics would look like based on what you saw. That's my only advice.
Okay, great. Yeah, I agree. I think that's great advice. And all of you, like Dee said, you can check this out, and it was very well done the way that they kept the conversation going. And they sort of had two people. They had the woman, Tammy Faye, who was the main speaker, and then she had someone that was queuing up people that had questions and comments and things like that. So yeah, it was very professionally done.
That's definitely some details that we will have to iron out.
Right.
See what we can do. Pastor Voigt, before we wrap this up.
Yes, hi. Hey, thank you, Lisa, for being with us tonight. Quickly, I just have 2 points. First of all, I just really think that your intent for the town of Danvers and sharing this as a possibility just really kind of opens the door to what the mission is for this committee, which is to have dialogue and education, and also to involve as many voices as possible. So I really think that this is looking forward and opening up some really good doors. And so thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you. And just for the story, I believe that the Know You, Know Me, that group was actually created by a former committee member.
Yeah, Shakira. Yeah.
So
it
she was a member of this committee, and I know she sings Move. So that is a group that actually has.
Yeah, she lives in Texas. She lives in Texas now, and yeah, originally she formed this group with also Julie Lombard, who was the UU minister in Danvers. Yeah,
and was also
I
the
actually.
liaison to this committee. So
Oh, she was okay.
Yes, Julie Lombard
Yeah.
was the interfaith partnership liaison to this committee. So definitely what we're going to do, it sounds like, I mean, everybody's interested with the idea. I'll be appointing a subcommittee to work with you and Eileen into the details of the logistics and everything. And then we will report back to this committee for further discussion and evaluation. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
And, you know, you're free to take care of the little dog now.
I know I got to bring them out before they're barking at someone walking by now.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will now move on to the fourth item on the agenda, which is the formal announcement of the bumper sticker contest. As you all know, I believe it was in October, the Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee launched a bumper sticker contest. And that was open to Danvers residents in grades 6 to 12 enrolled in any public, private, or homeschool programs. Students were able to submit their artwork, and I think Irene just shared her screen there so you can see some of the work. They were able to submit their artwork promoting inclusion and acceptance, and the winner did get a $500 cash prize. We had so many great selections that this committee last month decided to add a runner-up, actually 2 runner-ups, because they were all great artwork. So that is the third place.
Yep, Sadie Souza was our third place winner. She is a 6th grader.
Yes.
And she had the piece, she called this, "We Are All a Piece to the Puzzle." And our second place winner was Maddie Little. She's a junior at Danvers High School. I'll just leave that up for a second. And our first place winner was Alexis Wise, who is a 6th grader as well. And this is the bumper sticker that will be available for a donation, and we'll be printing them very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for participating, and congratulations to all the winners. All the participants were winners in my mind. I mean, they were outstanding artwork. And this is a testament of what our kids are able to do when we give them the opportunity and how creative they can be. And this should really give us hope and a lot of optimism for the future. Thank you. I will now move on to the...
Can I add one thing, Dee? Very quickly.
Sure.
I have had actually a lot of interest already in getting people wanting to purchase these bumper stickers. So I did send an email a couple weeks ago. I have them in the cart ready to go on the website. I just need some guidance from the committee on how you'd like to go about purchasing them. Then we can get them going and ready for order. So if we don't have to discuss it right now, but if someone, from the who has someone from the Friends has a moment to email me in the next couple days and let me know how you'd like to proceed, I'll get those ordered for everybody.
Thank you. Yes, Bob, you have a question?
Oh, Bob. There we go.
There's no way in the world we could have brought this off without Eileen. She did an utterly outstanding job. I mean, those of you who are not on the subcommittee just can't understand what she did. And I just want to thank her.
Oh, stop.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you. I second that, Bob. We will now move on to the 5th item on the agenda, which is the MLK Day Tribute Debrief. I think the way we're going a little hang on time. The way I'm going to do it, I'll just go down the list of members for any comments or questions. I think that would be the best way to do it. Let me start by Charles Desmond.
Yeah, I thought it was a very nice production. I loved the students. I thought they did an outstanding job. You know, it's difficult doing a production like that for the first time and not having experience, but I think we learned a lot, and I'm sure that in future events will even be better as we go forward.
Thank you. Bob Gamer.
Yeah, considering the circumstances that this was a Zoom presentation, it was utterly, outstanding. I mean, compliments to Ben and DCAT. I mean, it was, just seamlessly done. And having the students speak was an absolute hallmark. And Dee and Charles, you get the highest marks. But I think the outstanding speech was Sally Cairns. I mean, she touched on those critical issues: racial injustice, LGBTQ rights. I mean, in this toxic climate, it was just wonderful to listen to. So, Eileen, I got to get back to you. I mean, once again, you brought it off. All compliments go to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Graham.
I thought it was an excellent program, and the speeches and working all the youth into it. I think what a marvelous idea that was. That really made it, and having them talk while they were showing some of the pictures added even more to it. So, yeah, DCAT people did a marvelous job of putting everything together so that it just really flowed well.
Thank you. Donna Hopkins.
I don't have anything more to add other than what everyone's already said.
Thank you. David McKenna.
Well, we've been doing the Martin Luther King program for, I think, something like 20 years. And this is the first time we had to do it this way, given the circumstances with COVID and social distancing. I think it was an incredible program, well put together. The kids were great. They always are. And, I had no idea when I thought this idea up 25 years ago that you guys would do such a great job with it. I just congratulate all of you. Thank you. Thank you for keeping it up and doing a good job.
Thank you. Jorge Sanchez Salazar.
I think it was awesome. Kudos to all people who put it together and all the presenters. It was great. It wasn't the first time, hopefully the last time we'll have to do it this way. Although we obviously learned a lot, hopefully we won't need to use our knowledge in this way again next year. But yeah, it was great.
Thank you. Paul Polak.
Can you hear me, Dee?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Well, everybody said everything that I would have said. I concur with it. The program was outstanding from top to bottom. If we have to do it next year, I'm sure we can even get better at it. But here's hoping we're at the high school. It was a fabulous program. Frankly, I just can't say anything more about it. Congratulations to all.
Thank you. Eddie Kane.
Thanks, Dee. I'm not going to add too much, except it was extraordinarily well done. We're proud of our students, and we hope we can see everybody back at the high school next year.
Thank you. David Mills.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you, everyone. I have nothing to add beyond the compliments that have been spread tonight, except I wanted to say that Ben, once again, the television people have been so cooperative this year. in this program and others. Thank you, thank you. And the other thing is, this program is the greatest ad we have for an increase in our budget. So this is a good week for me to ask the town manager to increase the budget for our committee because we've had such a successful week. Okay, Paul, you're on the finance committee. Let's not have a conflict of interest here. Enough.
Take it easy, my friend. Take it easy.
Say no more. Bye.
Thank you, Pastor Douglas Voigt.
He's a great guy, I tell you.
Yes, most everything's been said already, but I just found it to be outstanding, the content as well as what DCAT did for us this year and pulling everything all together. It was outstanding.
Thank you. I agree with everybody already said. And once again, big thanks to Ben and Greg and DCAT team. Their level of cooperation and their patience is really appreciated. Thanks. Keep it up. Thank you. We also wanted to touch base here on some record keeping, and I think Donna brought that up last time. This is more like an update about the fact that when we have events, if we do the same event yearly, we don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. We can have a set of documents or things that we can go back to and just improve instead of starting from scratch. And Eileen, you had something about record keeping going forward?
Yep. So right now, I just put together kind of a simple spreadsheet where each tab is a different year. And, if I can certainly go back and look at the video from the 2020 presentation, take notes of who spoke. But if anyone has, some knowledge, some institutional knowledge about past years that they want to send to me, I'm going to start this year keeping a record of who our MC was, any keynote speakers, any other speakers, any residents that spoke, student speakers, the music that we used. So, this year we obviously used music that was pre-recorded from previous years, but next year if we wanted to find some local groups through the schools or something like that, I am going to start recording who the drum major for Justice Award goes to. So there will be no question going forward. And the other thing that I did add to the spreadsheet that we can talk about next year a bit was there had been some talk about a student award and a lifetime achievement award. And I don't know that we necessarily have to give all three awards every year. But I think it might have been David Mills who brought it up that instituting some kind of student award next year might be very beneficial. And our students are doing fantastic things, and we should acknowledge that as a committee. As part of this tribute every year. So I will be keeping a record going forward of all of the speakers, the music, and the awards we give out. But if anybody, like I said, does have some institutional knowledge, that from previous years, if you could pass that on to me, that would be great. And I'll start going backwards, in all my spare time. I will go looking for that information.
Perfect. And I think that would be great. It'd be great to have it going forward and then start to patch whatever we had done in the past so we have everything in one place, easily retrievable. Yes, David?
I would assume the town must have copies of the programs from each year that we've done it somewhere in the records. If not, I may have copies of many of them. I won't say I have all of them. But if you don't, let me know and I'll dig out what I've got. Unfortunately, my filing system's not the greatest.
That'll be helpful.
Yeah, anything you have, I would appreciate. Right now, I have not been able to uncover anything. I haven't done a deep dive of the basement yet, but that's probably my next stop. But in my office, I have not found anything yet. So.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Donna, did you have a question?
Oh, I think Sally has a lot of information. I think. I'll be happy to call her if you'd like, Eileen.
If you wouldn't mind, that'd be great.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I think she's got, I could be wrong, but I thought I remember from previous conversations with her that she has a huge record, which would be, she can keep it if she wants it, but it would be nice if we could copy.
Oh yeah, just if I could have the information to kind of fill in. Mostly for
I'll check with her.
purposes, you know, we don't want to be repeating awards every year or having a question of if we gave a huge award to someone or not. So yeah. So going
I'll
forward.
check with her for you.
Perfect.
So
Thank
just
you
a
very
quick-
much. Yes.
So Susan didn't have all of this stuff on file?
She probably did. I have not been able to uncover it. You know, there's been a few people since between Susan and I that have, you know, been in that office and gone through that office, and you know, it's possible things are in the basement. I haven't had a chance to get down and look for committee related things in the basement. It's probably somewhere. I just, you know, haven't found it yet.
But this is an official committee appointed by the town of Danvers, and I'm very disturbed that records have not been kept of the official business of the committee.
So it's not necessarily that they haven't been kept. Like I said, they could be in the basement. That would kind of be my next look. Like I said, I haven't found any computers yet, but I think the problem is there's just been so many people in human resources between myself and Susan. There's been at least 3 different people in my position. I'm not sure who the other staff liaisons would have been between us.
And I think part of what we're doing here, Dr. Charlie, is we're trying to move to the digital record keeping. So there might be some, I'm sure there are some folders and binders at Town Hall that we will definitely go back and retrieve. But if we have this in a folder that's kept electronically, it's easier to manage. We can just keep it on a CD or on a hardware, and then everything is there. So as we get these programs, she's gonna scan them so that we have electronic and digital records in the system. So it's not necessarily that they are not existent, it's that we want to make sure we have it in one place.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
So that it's easily retrievable. Perfect.
Exactly.
I will now move on to the 6th item on the agenda. We had a pretty packed agenda today, which is the volunteer list. We just had the MLK Day, and part of his work was not just social justice and racial equality, but it was also service. And I believe that expanding one's circle of compassion by caring for others enhances personal and spiritual growth. So it's, and I know Danvers take their volunteerism very seriously, and it's important that this committee let the community know what are some of the volunteer work and things that they can get involved in. And Eileen, we're working on putting a list of volunteers together. How far are you, Eileen?
So I actually had a couple of young people reach out to me just before and just after the Martin Luther King tribute aired, and asking for ways they could get involved. We had any upcoming events, and you know, of course, I told them we don't have anything in person planned right now, but let me take your information, and as soon as we're back in person, we're gonna give you a call. So what I would like to do is that I've started to is kind of just start building again another one of my famous sheets of people who are interested in volunteering for us. And so if you know, so that we have this master list of, you know, we're going to hold Martin Luther King Day tribute. We need, you know, 15 people, some people to help out, you know, passing out programs, things like that. Here's 15 people we can call. So if you folks know of people who would be interested in signing up to be on our list, please have them reach out to me with their information, any particular activities they'd be interested in. You know, if they say, you know, I don't have a lot of time during the year, but I'm really interested in the tribute, you know, I will put them on the list just for that. So I'd like to get a list going of that. The other aspect of that is we have started, and we'll touch on this a bit in the social media subcommittee update, is I've started adding a page to our website that is how to get involved in some different organizations, not necessarily just in Danvers, but on the North Shore as well, that are always looking for volunteers. So right now it's just the food pantry and North Shore, Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley, who are always looking for friendly phone calls, especially during this time. So if you folks know of any other organizations that we could feature on our website that are looking for volunteers, please let me know and I'll get it up on the website as well.
Perfect. Yes, Bob.
Oh, Bob, you're on mute.
Bob, I think you're muted.
Yeah, there's a new wind blowing. I mean, you'll notice that President Biden and Dr. Biden, his wife, the night before inauguration, were on a food pantry line. I think that's a wonderful initiative. You know, service is critical at this right now. So
definitely. Thank you. I'm not going to go down the list of members per se. I think maybe just wave if you have any questions or comments. I don't know if I'm missing a hand. Can you have me there, Eileen, since you have the master?
I'm not seeing anyone. Okay. I think we're good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, Paul. Paul's hands up.
Where do we stand on in bringing in new members to the committee?
Yep. So the applications, the deadline for applications was December 31st. They've all gone to the town manager. They are being reviewed. I know he and Dee had spoken a little bit ago on that. I don't have an exact date for you, but it is underway. The applications are being reviewed. This is a position that is appointed by the select board. So they will go before the select board for a vote.
We do have a list, and it's an active list.
We do. We had yes. I want to say 6 or 7 applicants actually, and it's moving forward. I would have to check in with Jen to see exactly where it is, but the wheels are turning.
We should expect some new blood at some point. Thank you.
Yes, we should expect some new blood soon. I spoke to the town manager 2 weeks ago about that exact thing, and he assured me that the appointments will be coming up soon.
Okay, excellent. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, yes, Bob.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, somebody called me about applying just the other day. Eileen, is that possible?
Yes, so I would encourage them.
I really, like to, in favor of his application. So like to support.
So the deadline was on December 31st. However, I would encourage them to still send it. We have like a rolling talent pool application that they should send it. And if they specify that they're interested in the Human Rights Committee, it will, go through. Unfortunately, I just don't know where Steve is on, kind of viewing those applications. So I don't know if, it could still sneak in or if, maybe names have already been sent to the select board. I'm not sure.
Okay, thanks. Paul?
Yes, Paul.
I just want to say I didn't miss the tribute to you and during that Martin Luther King Day.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we will now move on to the guest speaker recommendation, the 7th item on the agenda. I mean, that's something we're probably going to have more discussion about, Eileen, when we have the subcommittee convened with. So
actually, the guest speaker recommendation, Dee, I think you and I can't remember if it was this week or last week. We talked about it. This whole week has been a bog.
Yeah, I know.
But we have Beverly has a Human Rights and Inclusion Committee as well, and I have gotten talking with Kaja Johnson, who is their committee chair over there. And they are very interested in meeting with us and talking about kind of what their goals are, what our goals are, how we can collaborate as neighboring communities once the virus has passed. I've been saying that for a year now, but I believe it will happen. And so Kaja was interested, and we are interested in having her just come speak at a future meeting to talk a bit about what Beverly's goals are, what they're doing with their committee. They've recently kind of undergone sort of a revamp as we have, and we're kind of in similar places. So we thought it could be really beneficial to have her come and just spend some time talking about what they're doing and swapping ideas and seeing how we can collaborate in the future. I don't believe she's available for our February meeting, but I think she had mentioned March or April. So if the committee's interested in having her attend, I will happily schedule that.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. And as a matter of fact, she also like a member or members of our committee to attend one of their meetings in the future, if we can. I think this level of cooperation is really a good, I mean, we were talking about something that happened in Swampscott area, you know, and how we can, you know, lean on each other and help each other for a common cause. So I think that's a good idea. I don't know if any committee member has any questions. Instead of going down the line of members, I will probably just, if you have any question or comments, kind of wave and I'll call on you for the sake of time. Yes, Dr. Charlie.
Yeah, I would just like to say that relative to what we just talked about a few minutes ago about volunteerism, I'd like to suggest that the members of the school committee of our committee, the group that meets with the superintendent, that we also take on the responsibility of working with students in the school system about volunteering roles that students can play in support of our efforts. And I would like to take some responsibility for pushing that forward.
Thank you. Thank you. That'll be great. Yes, Bob?
And in regard to that, Charles, we have to push the idea of getting a student liaison on this committee. I think one has been in the works, but it's taking time.
Yeah. I mean, that idea was already brought up with Dr. Dana. I think it's just with the pandemic and the school closure and the hybrid model, there's a lot going on, but that's definitely something she does have on her radar. And that's a great idea. Anybody else? No? So Eileen, I mean, it'd be a good idea. We will, whenever they'll be available, March, we will work on the agenda for that meeting and see how we can give them some time. And for future meetings, if members of these committees are also interested, we will schedule some time to go into Beverly and see what they're doing there and what they have to offer. And also share some of the things that we do. I would now move on to the 8th item on the agenda, which is the social media subcommittee update. Again, the website looks fabulous. So Donna, any update? Bob, Eileen, you guys are on the subcommittee.
Yeah, I just suggested a book, Slave History from 1604 to into the 17th century, which really gives a graphic picture of what our Afro-American population had to endure during those particular years. And Eileen, I think you put it on the book list.
Yep, it is on recommended reading. And we have so many great books on recommended reading. So I would encourage people to take a look at that. The other ones I just wanted to run by the committee, Amanda Gorman, who spoke at the inauguration, she was the poet at the inauguration yesterday, has recently published a book, and she also has a children's book coming out that she actually delayed publishing a year because she felt like it was really important for it to come out right after the election, regardless of which way it went. So I'm going to have that on the site as well for our children's books. What we do need a bit more of is movies and podcasts. We're very book heavy, which is great, but I think I'd like to get a little more, a few different some more mediums on there. So if anybody has some recommendations for movies, podcasts, TV shows, radio, music, anything, please send it our way and we'll go through it and get some stuff up on the website.
Perfect. Thank you. Any comments or questions? Yes, David Mills.
Thank you, Dee, and thanks, Eileen, for all of that work. I just wanted to remind myself that the work of our committee has often focused on Black lives, African American, and the tragic, deplorable treatment of Black human beings in the history of this country right up until today. I have a continuing concern about the epidemic of the murder of transgender women in this country, who, by the way, 2/3 happen to be Black transgender women. And still, there is throughout the fundamentalist religion, evangelistic community, the terrible persecution of just ordinary lesbian and gay people. That stuff is not over. It's all still real. And it just so happens that publicity has been so horrendous with respect to the mutilation of Black citizens in the past year or two. I just don't want us to overlook that's part of our committee. And it isn't just that, as I've often thought to myself, they say coming out of the closet. There are all kinds of closets that come out of. There are single mothers trying to bring up kids. There are parents who can't afford 19 different pairs of sneakers. There's all kinds of potential for shame and cruelty in our society. And so I believe that the work of our commission is focused not only on Black, lesbian, and gay human rights, but all human rights. And I think we're all aware of that. It's just I like to remind myself from time to time. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you, David. Any other questions or comments?
Actually,
Yeah,
I'll be brief, Dee, because I know we are running behind schedule. Just on David's note, I did find a fantastic video on YouTube today of I think she's 20 now. She's older now, but she is a young woman who has autism, and she often talks about the struggle of, because she's a very social butterfly, most people think, well, you don't have autism, you're so social and happy and upbeat and all this. And so she's created a whole YouTube channel about how to approach specifically autism, but she does touch on other disabilities as well. And she put a great video on autism terminology and talking about what's appropriate to use, what's not appropriate to use, and things like that. So I'll probably send it to the committee just to have them look at first, because I don't like to post anything, without actually running it by everybody. But one of the things that I kind of noticed in going through our sources is while we have some great resources, we don't have a lot on other populations, disabilities and things like that. We do tend to be very racial focused, so we want to make sure we're mindful of these other populations as well.
Definitely. Thank you. Our 9th item on the agenda is Black History Month, which is coming in a couple weeks, or maybe less than a couple weeks, February. And in the past, we will actually use some of the artwork from MLK and post. I think Dr. Charlie, we had it at the library for the whole month of February for Black History Month. This year was a little different, like everything. So I just wanted to know if people had any idea as to things that we could do next month in celebration of Black History Month. In the past, we will not meet in January. we will just use the MLK event as the January meeting. But I thought it was important that we meet not only to debrief, but to also prepare Black History Month. I know, Eileen, we had talked during our last meeting about having a newsletter that we can run either monthly or weekly, depending on the content. I thought maybe, and again, I'll hear from members of the committee what they think. With the constraints of the pandemic and everything going on, maybe we can launch that newsletter next month in celebration of Black History Month, where we can portray an Afro leader or someone in history that was a significant person that we want to talk about. We could do it maybe once a month, once a week for the 4 weeks in February. So I didn't know when the committee will come down on this, because it will require each of us to maybe do some writing and putting something together so we can publish it. So, or we can do 2 for the month of February. Does anybody have any idea or suggestion? So I'll just go down the list of members. Do you have any idea or suggestion of things that we can do that will be appropriate based on the pandemic restrictions, but also not based on the time that we have? We don't have a lot of time to decide or to work on it. Charles Desmond.
Yeah, I would be happy to talk with folks at the library about, again, putting the artwork from the students on display in the library. I could also talk with Richard Trask, who is the town archivist and historian, who has deep knowledge about Danvers' involvement in the Underground Railroad, African-American families that were in Danvers at the time of the revolution. So I'll talk to him, and maybe he might be able to help us get some materials together that might be worth our considering.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. So
I had no idea. I'd never heard that Danvers was part of the Underground Railroad.
Oh, absolutely.
That's so cool. Wow.
We could just simply do a history of Maple Street Church and its involvement in the Civil War and what divided the church and why it broke away as a result of the issues in Danvers and Salem around the shoe business and selling properties to the plantations in the South. Danvers is rich in this history and has been involved in these efforts for generations.
Wow.
Yes, Bob.
Speaking of that, the Danvers Historical Society did a talk on the Black history from the very beginnings, and they must have a transcript of that, showing how the whole history of the abolitionists in this area, the Salem history, and also the Danvers history. That there are a number of historical sites, and if we can get a hold of that, I know time is a question. They have the transcript. They probably, you can probably get the whole thing.
We may in fact have it on video, or DCAT may have it. I will check on that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, I'd love
yes,
to get that on the website.
Yes, Bill Graham. Bill, you're muted.
A number of years ago, the Southern Poverty Law Center published a bunch of educational materials, and part of those materials was a book of a bunch of different biographies, and some of those would be wonderful to post regularly to call attention to people that were, contributed greatly to things.
Perfect. Thank you.
Can I just mention one more thing?
Yes, Bob.
The DCAT building was a historical site. Relating to the Black history in this Danvers.
Perfect. Great. Paul Pollack.
I'm all set, D.
Okay, thank you. Jorge Sanchez Salazar.
Yeah, I have no comments to make.
Perfect. David Mills.
I will make it a point to call Richard Trask this week. I don't know if he would be able to see me personally. But all of this discussion, I am not aware, and I've been here my whole life, and I'm fairly Danvers. I am not the least bit informed about the history of Danvers in civil rights and participation in the liberation of slaves. I think that would be terribly important stuff. And also, while Richard is alive, to be able to produce some lectures online that can be preserved, that can be part of the portfolio of this committee, but also to be run, on our local cable, publicized, because people will have a whole lot more pride and interest in these things if they become aware that this is our home, this is what we have done, and let's talk about it, celebrate it, and be proud of it. And that gets a lot of people out of the closet as well. I'll make it a point to just talk to Richard about that this week, and then report back to everybody. And then also the Danvers Historical Society. I hope all they can follow up with them. And then Charlie, you're a library trustee, so you probably, aren't you still I think you're a library trustee.
Yes, I am.
So you have a good connection with Richard, who is brilliant and kind.
No, I talk with Richard a lot. He's brilliant, and he's a rich resource that we can certainly tap into.
Perfect. Yes, Bob?
I'll contact him tomorrow, but probably it would be good if you also spoke with him.
Well, I'll do that.
Most famous person in this country and in the world, Douglas, wrote his key book in Lynn, Massachusetts, where he lived for quite a while. I mean, how many know that? I mean, these are things that we really need to get out there.
That's what education is all about.
Yeah.
Perfect. Donna Hopkins?
Sorry, the unmute key. I don't have anything to add. I think that's a great idea about getting. There's been some really great comments. I don't have anything more to add to it.
Thank you. Eddie Crane? Sorry.
The only thing I'd say is that when it comes to the Underground Railroad, for example, I'm fairly certain the Page House was one of the stops. I remember getting a tour when I was in elementary school, and that coming up and always kind of fascinated me. So we do have a rich history, and it's certainly worth exploring and highlighting on as local a level as possible.
Perfect. Pastor Voy?
Yes, I agree. There's a lot of great ideas that have been shared. And so I certainly appreciate where Charles was heading with things. And so certainly looking at Danvers history would be, I think, a highlight for the month of February for Black History Month.
Perfect. So, I mean, it seems that we have a consensus into doing some kind of publications to educate ourselves and learn a little more about our history, our rich history, I might say. Do I just have people send you ideas, Eileen, and we can discuss on how to put it together, or does this require a quick subcommittee? Because we don't have a lot of time.
I wanted to kind of convene a subcommittee. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Where's it coming from? Sorry, I was hearing a lot of, I put everyone on, I was hearing a lot of feedback, sorry. So I'm happy to meet with a subcommittee. We want to, meet over the next 2 weeks and pull some things together. I love the idea of using this to kind of launch our monthly newsletter. If we can find a way to focus that first issue on Black history, and then, maybe we have one other item that we also promote halfway through February as well. As part of Black history in Danvers, just so we're not just doing one thing at the beginning of February and calling it a month. Dee and I had originally talked about potentially doing every Monday, so 4 Mondays in February, a profile on a prominent Black leader. But I love the idea of focusing it more to Danvers as well. So I'd like us to be able to get maybe two publications is a good goal for the time we have. If anyone would like to meet as a subcommittee, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, perfect. So I will appoint a subcommittee. And yes, Pastor Voy?
Something that the Cape Ann Museum has done during the pandemic is utilize their video resources. And so an idea might be, Charlie, over at the library, to see what sort of videos that they have. And so if we use the newsletter publication throughout the month, what we also may be able to do is do, instead of like a book club, do a video club and have different postings of videos that people can tap into that be posted, and possibly integrate that throughout the month as well. So reading as well as biographies or documentaries that might be out there on Danvers, on the historical content. And so we could probably use different media throughout the course of the month that might be already at the library to help bring us throughout the month. So just an idea or suggestion.
Okay, perfect. Yes, Bill?
You want volunteers for that subcommittee?
Yes, please.
I would volunteer for that.
So, Bill, Bob, I want to say to Charlie, okay. So, Donna, you can get it. So the three of you will get in touch with Eileen to work out what material you're going to be sending her. And Eileen, can you put me on that email as well?
Absolutely. I cut out for a second. So it's Bill, Donna, and Charlie, correct?
No, Bill, Bob, and Charlie.
Bill, Bob, Charlie. Got it. Okay. All right. We will.
What's the purpose of our committee? Our committee is to help facilitate efforts around Black History Month. Is that right?
That's correct. And then come up, we want to have at least 2 publications, either, newsletter style combined with video online, or whatever material we can put together to celebrate Black History Month. And the focus will be mostly on local things, but we can also go outside of our local environment and talk about some Black leaders in history.
And I do have a template we can use for the newsletter if we choose to go that route. I do have some stuff set up for us, so we don't start from scratch.
This is great. I don't think in the past we've done anything in Black History except, putting the artwork at the library. But this year, not many people can go to the library anyway because of the pandemic. So this would be a good way to reach people at home.
That's well, maybe I can get the I'm sorry. Maybe the library can do a video platform for the student artwork on the library's website. So we could just make it virtual. Let the library pull that together of the artwork and whatever. We'll see what we can do.
That will work as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. I will now move on to the next item on the agenda. Any liaison from any update from our liaisons? I'm sorry. Eric, any update?
Sorry, I had to unmute there. Yes. Let me fill you in a little bit on what the school system is doing in terms of diversity, because at our January meeting, Lisa and her team presented a slide presentation on the Danvers Public Schools equity work that's ongoing. We recognized early on this year that we needed to look at the culture of schools and the school system and do what we could to make sure we're being as inclusive as possible and addressing concerns that have come up. So I'm going to give you a sort of a truncated version of what Lisa shared with us. But many of you know that our core values are caring, quality, commitment, and collaboration. Those are what we call our school system's core values. Caring was defined as creating a safe and healthy environment to ensure all students are ready to learn in the classroom. So what Lisa talked about is making a shift in our value from caring to what she called courageous caring, which includes belief in each child's ability to succeed, a focus on social and emotional learning for sense making, that all adults have the responsibility to contribute to this and to contribute to the atmosphere of caring, and that students feel not only physically safe, but psychologically safe. They listen to each other and speak. And we want to make that part of our reality, part of our vision. Our strategic plan includes that all students will be supported in an inclusive and emotionally supportive, culturally responsive environment. What we've done so far on that aspect, what is in planning stages, are that teacher researchers will integrate cultural proficiency into the English immersion course and the social emotional learning. Teams from Danvers attended Zarita Hammond's culturally responsive teaching and brain 2-day institute. In June, there'll be professional development on instruction. In fact, there was professional development on instructional equity and social and emotional learning and equity enhancements. August through December of last year, we focused on implicit bias awareness, anti-racism professional learning discussions, including coaching. ADL No Place for Hate program with trained administrators and students. Go Families and Allies of Black Children for Danvers families of students of color. The town of Danvers, obviously, the Human Rights Inclusion and IDA committees, and a group from January to April of 2021 striving to be anti-racist educators, a study group. So much of our professional development this year is focused on addressing issues of equity and really working with our staff to make sure that they understand the issues and that we're addressing them in our professional development to make teachers more aware of how to deal with what's happening. We have had the Why You Matter campaign, which is a school-wide effort at DHS to encourage each student to consider what makes them special. We hang everybody's pictures with messages of why you matter in the hall each year. And there's anti-defamation league, anti-bias training for administrators, and anti-discrimination for students who are coming up. And importantly, I think this is, we understand that one of the places that we most need to reach students has to do with our sports teams and our athletics. And so we've already started with winter cohort training. Topics are including social media, bullying and hazing, inappropriate behaviors, and equity and implicit bias. So there is a comprehensive effort on the part of the schools to really focus on equity and non-bias in what we're doing for the whole year, and it'll continue to next year. I think we all acknowledge it's an extremely important effort. There was one more piece I wanted to tell you about. Yesterday afternoon, the faculty started a faculty study group on being anti-racist educators. 75 people participated in that. Mary Wormers will be leading 7 sessions through April on that topic. So the other thing is I've been asked to see if we can secure a date. It doesn't have to be tonight, obviously, but a date for our next education subcommittee meeting of your subcommittee on education. So hopefully someone can reach out to Lisa and start putting some dates together. And I will pass along your comments about the need for a student volunteers, Charlie, and also a student liaison as well. So we'll work on those. And then beyond that, the only thing I would say for the benefit of the town is we continue to work on the right way to deal with COVID in the schools and getting as many of our students back to school as much as possible, and making sure that we're meeting whatever the educational needs are when we do it remotely. Is a forum on a Monday the 25th. It'll be by Zoom. It'll be on DCAT. There'll be more details. I believe it is from 5 to 7. I'm sorry, strike that. 7 to 9 on Monday the 25th. There'll be a special forum held by Zoom. We'll be taking public comment on the concerns about trying to get our schools open.
Thank you.
That's what I have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Eileen, we're going to follow up with Dr. Dana for a date of the school subcommittee.
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you. Pastor Douglas Voigt, Interfaith Partnership update.
Yeah, so the Danvers Interfaith Partnership met this last week. And so we came to consensus that we all continue to educate on Zoom and from the pulpit on messages of anti-racism and anti-violence. Something that's very, very near to all of our hearts as well as our theology. Some congregations in Danvers are meeting only on Zoom or meeting just broadcasting services from their sanctuaries because of COVID, and others are meeting limited attendance in person within the town. And so different churches are doing different things. But all are really working hard at remaining vigilant and safe, but as well as meeting the needs of the town in regards to those that are sick and those that are struggling with COVID and with infection. And so just continuing to be present and be supportive to those that are struggling in all areas, whether it be, feeling isolated or alone or struggling with financial issues or concerns. And so again, if there's anyone that you come across in your path that's struggling and needs support from the clergy within the community, we are present and available for all folks that can support or some assistance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David Mills, in your update from the select board.
Thank you, Dee. I was sitting here trying to think what have I got to report to you. All I want to say is that the Board of Selectmen invests a lot of energy and attention in attempting to support our current administration from the manager on down in dealing with all of the business of government, which they seem to be doing so well. So I've got nothing in particular to report to this, except that I think the select board is doing its job, and its principal job now is to support the good efforts of the manager and the other people on our municipal team. Thank you.
Thank you. And we now move on to the last item on our agenda. Before I do so, Eileen, did we get any public comments or questions?
Nothing on the phone, and I do not see anything in the email. I think we are good there.
Perfect. Thank you. Any new business? You want to just raise your hand if you have any new business. And yes, Eileen?
Just a quick reminder, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if somebody from the Friends could reach out to me about how we would like to order bumper stickers. I've had a lot of people looking to buy them, so I just need to know how you want to purchase those.
Okay.
And just send me an email or give me a call.
So that will be a question for David McKenna or Dr. Charlie Desmond.
Yeah.
Or Paul Pollack.
Could you explain to me what the issue is that you're concerned about? I mean, do you need an appropriation to do it, or?
So we have a website that we're going to order from. It's going to come to, I think it ended up being like $150 or so for 500 stickers. So I just need to know if there's a card that I should enter in, or how exactly. I don't know if you guys have placed orders before in the past for something like this, or if I should reach out to the company, see if they can invoice us, way to do anything like that.
Tell them to invoice us, please.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Any other new business? None? Okay.
Dee, could I just ask a question?
Yes, David.
You might have been paying attention. The Swampskip program that was discussed tonight Is that something that is available electronically? Did anyone pick that up? Like, is that something that, Donna, do you know about that?
Yes, it is available electronically, and I will be forwarding that to Eileen so she can send to all the members of the committee.
Okay, and then we can download it and view it?
That's
Yeah.
correct. You can download and view it. I did start to view it. I did not view all 3 hours. I went about halfway through, but yes, it is available.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Oh. Any other new business? Yeah, none. So, okay, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay. So moved by David McKenna, second by Donna Hopkins. Charles Desmond,
Yes.
Bob Gamer, I think you still muted, Bob. Bob Gamer, I see the
Yeah,
thumbs
that's
up.
fine.
Bill Graham,
Yes.
Donna Hopkins,
Yes.
David McKenna,
Yes.
Paul Polak,
Yes.
Jorge Sanchez Salazar,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Danvers, and have a good night.